Hey everyone, Cedric from Vertex Marketing Agency, and in this video we're going to be talking about the difference between the event count that you see in Ads Manager versus the one that you see in Events Manager, because that's actually a question that I get often. And I'm also going to talk about the Facebook attribution because there's a few different options, and at the end of the video I have a pretty cool exercise that you can do, and I think that when you do that it's going to give you potentially a different perspective on maybe how your campaigns and your ads are performing. So with that being said, let's get into this week's content. All right, I am now inside Events Manager, and I just want to start by saying that this is like almost like a database. Well, it is a database, and think of it as like a Google Sheet, and there's data being sent to this, and it's being sent because you have tracking installed on your website. So if you're using Shopify, you probably have the app and it's automatically just sending the data. If you're not, then maybe you're using something like Google Tag Manager, or maybe you've installed the pixel manually on a website. If you haven't set up the tracking, then go ahead and check in our list of videos on this channel. I've made a lot of videos on how to set up your tracking on a website if you're using Shopify, or if you're not, then I have videos about Google Tag Manager. But basically you have a connection from your site to Facebook. So Facebook gets the data whenever someone makes a purchase or becomes a lead. And this is what we're seeing here. So these are all the purchase event that this pixel receives for, let's say, this site right here. And the lines that we're seeing here is because we're getting events from both browser and server. Now, if you're not familiar with this, basically there's two main ways of sending data to Facebook. I'm not going to get too into that because that's a bit more technical, but you can send data via the browser and you can send data via the server. Best practice is to actually do both, and then what you do is you deduplicate the event. Well, you're not the one doing it, it's actually Facebook, but basically you send the event, let's say a purchase, via both the browser and the server. You add an event ID, and this is just like an ID. And once Facebook receives the event from, again, both browser and server, and it's going to look at the ID. If the ID matched, then it knows that it's the same user, and it's just, again, they receive the events from both browser and server, and they're going to deduplicate the server event and only keep the browser event. And then where this becomes really powerful is in the event where Facebook doesn't receive a browser event because, I don't know, of an ad blocker or any other reasons, then it only receives a server event, and at least now you're still tracking users, okay? But what you're seeing here, and that's the question I get all the time, like, hey, Cedric, I get so many events here, why don't I have, for example, 821 purchases inside Ads Manager when I look at all my campaigns? Well, it's because here we're looking at both browser and server events. So first of all, if you're seeing that inside Ads Manager is not going to duplicate your data, right? It's going to look, and like I said, if it the event was received from both browser and server, it's going to deduplicate them and only keep one. And the number here that we're looking at is not doing that. And then second of all, this is just showing the event count. In Ads Manager, they can't show you the event count because now they would be, if they were to do that, they would actually over-report. Because the perfect way to set up your tracking is to actually send a purchase event to Facebook whenever someone is making a purchase, not just when they're coming from the Facebook platform. Because even if Facebook, or even if you're not actually running Facebook ads, you still want Facebook to see that purchase event so that they can now match that with a customer, so that the data you want to advertise, they actually can go and say, oh, well, we have thousands and thousands of purchases because they've set up the pixel on their site, so we know exactly who their customers are. We can see who's purchasing. So now the data you want to advertise, then we know exactly who we should show your ad to because we have all this data. And if you are currently advertising, that's also why you want to send as much data as possible to Facebook. So again, this is showing you the total event count. And when you're, let's say, looking at Ads Manager under the results section here, you're only looking at attributed conversions. So let's say here I'm optimizing for the purchase event again. Well, I'm only gonna be able to see the purchases that are actually attributed to my campaign. So now that hopefully this makes a little bit more sense. So Events Manager is showing you the total amount of events, and it's including both browser and server, and they have not been attributed to your campaign. So you could actually not be spending any money on Facebook ads, but in Events Manager, seeing thousands and thousands of purchases, and it's actually just because every time there's a purchase happening on your site, it's being sent to Events Manager, which again is a database. Now, Facebook's job using their AI, they're actually going to go ahead and match those events with a potential user that have maybe seen or clicked on your ad. And that's when we get into attribution, which is the second part of the video. So moving on to attribution. So that's actually something that you can manage on the ad set level. So I'm going to go to the ad set level. And if I scroll down here, you're gonna see right now I'm optimizing for the lead event, but it's gonna work and it's gonna be the same options if you're doing lead, purchase, even custom conversion. So don't worry about that. Now let me scroll down here, and sometimes this will be hidden, so you might need to click on show more options. Now here we have 3 options, and I'm also going to show you how to add additional options, how to actually look at it with the 28-day click attribution, and that's actually going to be part of the exercise I'm going to give you for after this video. But let's start with the click through here, because you actually have 2 options. So you have 1 day and 7 days. Now let me put this into a scenario for you. So I am on Facebook, I see a video or an image, and I decide to click the link, and I go to the website and I make a purchase. So that would be considered the 1 day attribution, because I'm making a purchase, within 24 hours. But there's also another option that, hey, if I click on the link and then I don't decide to make a purchase today, I make a purchase maybe 6 days later, because I saw the ad, clicked the link, I remembered the website URL, and then 6 days in the future, I just typed it maybe on Google and made a purchase then. And again, it's been maybe like 6 or 7 days. Well, now I'm actually still going to be attributed to that campaign. So when you look at your results inside Ads Manager, I would still show up as a conversion for that ad set, and campaign. So those are the options between those 2. So if ever you're choosing 7 days, you're going to obviously be able to see a little bit more conversions being reported to your ad set, and your campaign. And if you ask for my opinion, I'm a big fan of the 7 days. So I won't use a 1 day click. I'll always use a 7 day click. So, but that's the difference between 1 day and 7 day. And again, I'll show you how to add the 28-day click later. Right, moving on to engaged views. So that's actually a question that I get asked often, like what's the difference between engaged view and view through? Well, first of all, engaged view is for videos only. So let's say the video is 15 seconds and I watch it for 10 seconds. And I don't click on the link, but I remember the content and I decide to go on Google and make a purchase. That would be considered an engaged view attribution. So when I do that, now the purchase or lead would now be attributed to that ad set, and campaign. Just remember that for the click through, we have up to 7 days, right? So we can go from 1 day, 7 day in terms of what we want to optimize for. But for the engaged view, it's either none or 1 day. And I think that kind of makes sense, because if your brand is like not just running Facebook ads, you're doing TikTok ads and maybe Google ads or Pinterest, like I think it's not super fair if Facebook attributes engaged view, or even worse, view through attribution, when a conversion happens right through that model, but like 7 days into the future. Like most likely it's probably like another marketing channel that actually generated conversion, and now you have like 2 marketing channel like overlapping. So I think it makes sense that you're limited at 1 day. And the last one is the view through. So this is when your ad so this could be an image or a video, delivers an impression, and I actually don't need to engage with the video, meaning I don't need to watch it for 10 seconds or watch 97% of the video, or if it's an image, like there's not a specific amount of time. It's more just like I see it. Now, if I don't know, maybe see the logo and maybe the company name, and then I decide to go to your website and make a purchase, that's going to count as a view through attribution. So this one, I always use it. I always set it to 1 day. But the only thing that I don't really like about this attribution model is that I find I get a lot of attribution and conversions being associated to my campaigns that, like, without them seeing the ad, they would have probably like bought the product regardless. So let me give you an example. So let's say I'm a customer of Yeti. I always buy like Yeti bottles, and I'm like, you know what? Today I'll also buy a Yeti bottle. And then I just happens to go on Facebook, and because Facebook has my information, they know what I like, and they've seen probably from Yeti's Pixel that I have purchased from them in the past. So now what ends up happening is they show me an ad, and then I just see the ad, but whatever, I was going to purchase from them regardless. And then, later that night, I go to the Yeti website and make a purchase. Now, when the ad team of Yeti looks inside Ads Manager, they're going to see, oh, cool, we got a purchase, let's say from this ad. And yes, sure, it's a purchase, but I would have purchased regardless of seeing the ad. And that's kind of the thing with view attribution. And it could be the same thing as well with the click attribution. So I found that the view through attribution model kind of steals a lot of conversions from potentially other channels and really just takes the credit. So that's why I'm not a huge fan, but hopefully now you understand the difference between click attribution, engaged video, and then view through attribution, and how with the click attribution, you have the option of using the 1 day or 7 day. And again, I prefer 7 day click. And For the engaged view, I use 1 day, and for the view through, I also use 1 day. I do not select the none option for those two attribution model, because what I want to do is I actually want to be able to attribute as much conversions to my campaign, because I want to get out of learning and I want Facebook to get as much data as possible. But also I need to remember and consider that the view through attribution, it's not always a credit that should go to Facebook. And that's actually what we're going to do right now. We're going to do a little exercise. So let's go back to our campaign right here. And if you click right here and you scroll down, you're going to see an option here that says compare attribution settings. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to add the 1 day view, 1 day engaged view, and you can also add the 7 day and the 28 day click. And you're going to click on apply for. Perfect. Now, if I go right here, this is going to show you how many results you got with the 1 day view, how many results you got with the 1 day engaged view, 7 day click, 28 day click. First thing to look at is look at the amount of results you actually got with the 7 day click versus the 28 day click. So let's say, I don't know, in the last 7 days, you got 100 purchases. What you're going to see is they're going to get divided between all those attribution models. So it's going to be pretty cool. So you're going to be able to see how are your users actually converting with your Facebook ads. And is it all with the view through? And remember what I said, when it's with the view through, usually, but not all the time, it's potentially like a purchase that would have happened regardless of them seeing your Facebook ads. And then you can kind of just continue. So look at the amount of results and then look at the cost per result. So which one actually has the best cost per result? Is the 7 day click the one with the best cost per result, or is it the 1 day view? Most likely, I think it could be the 1 day view, but it also depends on your ads. And that's something that I've seen with a lot of different ad accounts when we're running like just simple images, or maybe like a carousel where it's just like maybe a picture of the product. There's not much explanation. Usually we'll actually have a lower cost per result for the view through, and a higher ROAS for the view through when we're comparing it versus with the 7 day, because those images are kind of like acting more as retargeting. Although our audience is broad, Facebook just knows that the simple image with maybe it's like a comparison ad where you see like the before and after price, Facebook just shows that image to like people that have already purchased in the past. So what we'll see is a lower cost per result for the view through, and again a higher ROAS for the view through, versus sometimes like a UGC video, we'll actually see a higher cost per result with the view through, and the same thing with the ROAS is going to be lower with the view through, but with the 7 day or maybe 28 day click, it's actually going to be cost per result is going to be lower, and then the ROAS is going to be higher. So you kind of just go through it and just look at it. And it's a pretty cool / fun exercise, because you can really tell which ad maybe is actually doing a better job at reaching a cold audience versus a warm audience. And especially if you're using the ad account structure that we recommend this channel, where we actually don't have a specific prospecting or retargeting campaign, we have a broad campaign and we let the creatives do the targeting for us. It's just interesting to see like how they're actually converting. So that's the exercise I want to give you. Like look at your campaigns, your ad set and your ads, and see which ad, let's say, has a high ROAS or low cost per result when you're looking at the 7 day attribution model versus the view through attribution model, maybe also versus the 1 day engaged view attribution model. It really compare the results, because I'll tell you right now, I work with companies that like sell one product, and the product is about like $300, and you only buy that product once, and it's always new customers. So when we're running our ads, we know that all the purchases that we're getting, they're always new customers. And when I compare their ad account and the results they're getting versus another company that they get a lot of repeated customers, what we see is that when we look at the breakdown, the view through versus the 7 day click, the majority of those purchases are actually happening with the 7 day click, because people don't know who they are, right? They haven't purchased, so they actually click the link to go and check it out. But then with the company that get a lot of repeated customer, what we see sometimes is that like the view through attribution will actually capture more results. The cost per result will be a little bit lower with the view through, because like I said, a lot of them are repeated customer, which they would probably purchase regardless of seeing the ad, which that's why it could be also important to measure the incremental lift, but that's something for a different video. But that's the exercise, guys, and hopefully now you understand the difference between the data you see in Advanced Manager versus in Ads Manager, right? Advanced Manager is just like the raw data, it's not attributed, but in Ads Manager now it's all attributed, and you understand the different type of the attribution model. I've also shown you how to add the 28 day click. So we're adding it to your view, but we're not optimizing for that 28-day click. So it's more just kind of fun and cool to see it, but it's not like back in the days where we used to be able to optimize for 28-day clicks. So just remember that. And I've talked about the view through, the engage view, and how to be a bit careful with the view through, because it's easy to be confused with an ad when you're blending both of them, and then the ROAS is really good, but when you're looking at them separately, you see that the view through is actually the one capturing all the results, right? So just something worth considering. But guys, that is it for this video. If you've enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up, please. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, because we release videos about Facebook ads, tracking, well, just like this one every week. Anyways, bye for now.